I'm Melissa Chappell, an autistic PhD student at the University of Liverpool.
I'm Sophie Williams, an autistic psychology undergraduate at University of Liverpool.
And together we've came up with the podcast Autism by Autistics.
Autistics.
That's the one. Today we're going to talk specifically for the first episode about what it means to be autistic.
Which is a really good place to start, I think.
I think it is too. We are going to cover various aspects of what it means to be autistic. We just felt that we should start with the obvious thing that I think people most often ask about, which is, what is it like? What does it feel like to be autistic? I think I get asked that a lot, I'm not sure.
See, I've never actually been asked that.
Oh, really?
No one's ever said to me what's it like being autistic.
I think it's when people are trying to be as positive as they can be. It's, how can I know you better? How can I help you? And I think that's my favourite thing to be asked. But it's also incredibly difficult. So one of the things that I wanted to speak to you about is that whenever I've been asked, what is it like to be autistic? What does it mean to be autistic? The thing that I struggle with the most is I don't know. I know that sounds very strange coming from somebody who is autistic.
It doesn't though, because it's like, it's been there from, the beginning of our little fetusy cell brains. Like, it's just our existence. I think if someone asks me, it's just, it's point to myself kind of thing, because I only know more now since being in like the academic field and research and stuff.
Yeah.
And talking to more people and realising, okay, we do this, but like my neurotypical friends don't.
I feel especially at the beginning, when I didn't really know any other autistic people, it was, as you say, just that was all I had ever known.
See, it's weird because, like, when I was quite young, I sort of figured out I wasn't like everyone else. So for me, it was more that, like, I realised I was the difference, just didn't quite know how, and didn't find it that much of a problem at age 9. So I just kind of went about my day.
I realised I was different, but I think because there was so much at the time on, the fact that kids can be really mean and they can point out differences, I just thought I was in a pretty bad place. Like, these kids just don't like difference. And I didn't ever consider autism until I was in my teens, and I think that was just a case of absolute accident. I don't think I would have gotten to that conclusion on my own.
No, mine was definitely a stumbled accident as well.
The thing is, though, I think it's very positive. Like, from saying it's what I know and I never would have realised, it kind of sounds like diagnosis is pointless, but I actually feel the opposite. I think I needed to know. I needed that.
I was so desperate to know. I had quite a short time frame, and I was just like, I was so scared that they were going to say she's not, because it was like, yeah, she is.
It's like imposter syndrome as well, isn't it?
Basically is. It basically is.
See, I remember being sat in the psychiatrist's office and thinking, one day out of these meetings I'm going to come in and she's going to say I got a little wrong. And it's having to constantly reassure yourself. And I think it's, again, because it's all you've ever known. And all of a sudden, it's like somebody's highlighted something. Why did they never know?
Especially when you look back and it was really obvious.
Yeah. So there was an example for me what happened, and it was not a negative experience at all. What happened was I was asked to write a short piece on what it meant to be autistic. And unfortunately, the magazine was discontinued and the article was never published. I had an awful lot of fun writing it, and I loved that the people behind the magazine were so nice to actually ask, can you write for everybody else what it's like to be autistic? But it took me so long, and it shouldn't have done, because I'm sat there thinking, what is it about me that no one else does? What is it about me that these neurotypical non-autistic people will go, wow, I didn't know that? And I think that's where it's important, but also hard to explain to people that autism isn't something you can separate from a person. It's not a condition like, it's difficult with depression, because depression's a state of being, but it's not like asthma or diabetes or any other condition that you would want to work to get rid of because it's this external thing that's came along. It's a word that describes every way that your brain works. there's no you and then autism. Everything about you is autism, but the hard part is that there is an overlap as well between autistics and non-autistics, because we're still human. It's if you looked at, for example, you know, the documentaries on different species.
Yes.
I don't know, you probably watch them more than me.
I watch so many.
Well, did you see the one with the lemurs? What I found interesting, because I just thought a lemur was a lemur, but actually there's the tree lemurs and there's the ground lemurs.
Oh my god, lemurs are great.
And I thought that was fantastic, because David Attenborough in all his glory explains the difference, you know, the advantages of each that are completely different from each other. And I thought that was just like autism and non-autistics.
What it's like to be autistic, it's good to be a tree lemur.
Not quite that literally.
No, that's all I took from that part of this. That's all I'm taking for tree lemurs.
I probably shouldn't speak metaphorically. But what I mean is that
not to me,
our strengths are completely different from a non-autistic, but they're still valid.
Exactly.
So it's almost, when you look at another species, you would never question the fact that there's complete variations of that species. But with humans, we expect everyone to just be human. We don't expect this variation, and that's what I love about the neurodiverse movement, is that actually, just like other creatures, there's different versions of us, and that's ultimately what autism is. We've got a different skill set and a different disadvantage set of things.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that I definitely had to sort of break through, what it's like being autistic. It's sort of that we've got our own advantages and disadvantages, like you say, but so does everyone else. It's just that different thing. And I think it is what it's like being autistic. It's just a different skill set. Mm-hmm. I always like the metaphor, it's a different operating system.
Yeah.
I always like that one because I think that explains it really well. It's like, still do the same job, just different.
Exactly. I like that one. I've never heard that one.
Have you not heard that one?
No. I really like it.
Spend enough time on Pinterest.
So, one thing that I wanted to sort of bring to the table today to speak about is that in this discovery of self-understanding and what it means to be autistic, I struggled for a while, and I think most people struggle whether they're autistic or not, because there's so much conflicting evidence out there. I don't want to speak too much on that today, because I think that's something we'll probably cover as time goes on.
We'll get there.
But, for example, now we just talk about autism as autism. We don't talk about functioning. For some of you, you might not know that if you're listening. We used to have high functioning and low functioning. And now we just think about the person and their support needs, which is so much better. It's so much nicer.
I was so happy when that changed, because I think I was diagnosed around the time that shift had happened.
Yeah.
And definitely the more I've been very open about being autistic with people and realised more about perceptions and stuff, getting rid of functioning labels is definitely better.
Yeah.
And just approaching it as autism and what does someone need.
And it's that thing of your level of support needs, they change through your life, they change through context.
Mine can change hourly.
Exactly.
One hour I'm fine, the next one I'll if there's a thunderstorm, I will need full support needs.
And I like the idea that I can go to my doctor one time and they will think of me as, what are your support needs right now?
Yeah.
Rather than, well, we were told 10 years ago or however long that you're autistic and you're high functioning, so you don't need any extra support because you're not low functioning. I just don't like that at all.
Yeah, I think as well, because my formal diagnosis is Asperger's syndrome, so it definitely brings with it the higher functioning aspect, and that can be an absolute nightmare. Especially, people are like, oh, high functioning, they jump to that, and I'm like, yeah, but no. And then I get my mum going, no, she's not. So I think definitely it's better.
I used to have to say to people, come and see me on a low functioning day, and they'd be like, what do you mean a low functioning day? And now I can just be like, oh, my support needs have changed.
Yeah.
But before I got into the research, I had a common misconception, which I think most people probably have, that when I'd hear of people who had struggles with verbal communication, I don't want to say non-verbal, because some people that struggle with communication are verbal in some extent.
Yeah.
So I thought that person's completely different from me. Not in a negative way at all. I had the utmost respect for them, because I thought how difficult it must be to have these struggles we've all got that come with part of being autistic. and a unique skill set that people often don't understand, but then as well not being able to verbally communicate. And I still do have high respect for how difficult that must be. That is a higher support need, there's no denying that.
I think especially when we're so reliant as people on verbalization, like I think I've definitely realised how much non-verbal stuff you can do, and I think it's that thing that you don't need to be verbal to communicate.
Exactly. But for me, I did think that person was completely different. I didn't think there were types of autism. I just thought, I can't relate, that they have a completely different experience of being autistic. But then I found this book. I'm going to show you this book.
For podcast listeners, all of you, she's showing me a book.
Well, I was going to read the name too. I'm just showing you because I'm like, read it, Sophie.
It's got a nice cover. It's got butterflies on it.
So the book is called The Reason I Jump, and it's about a boy who's autistic from Japan, and I think he's a couple of years older than me now, I think, but he wrote the book when he was 13, that I do know, and it's been translated from Japanese by David Mitchell and K.A. Yoshida. Sorry if I've said that name wrong. And I think everybody should read this book. Autistic, non-autistic, read this book. And what the boy has done is he's wrote down all questions that he feels people want to know, or he's been asked a lot in his life about being autistic. And I was a bit reluctant because I thought this is going to be unrelatable for me because he is minimally verbal. And I was actually so shocked to pick this up and see, wow, other than struggling with verbal communication, he's got the same skills and difficulties that I've got as an autistic person, and that was so powerful for me, seeing just because we've got different support needs doesn't make us different in terms of autism, if that makes sense.
It does. I also think it's maybe nice to sort of take that perspective, especially as we move, because we're definitely in the advocate circle now.
Yeah.
Which is nice to be in. And I definitely think just sort of treating everyone the same, and you will see loads of comments, but it's like you do get to see the different types of autism, but I think if we just be like, we're a people, we're a species, we're the tree lemurs.
I'm never going to live that down, am I?
Nope. Be your Christmas present now, get you a lemur.
So I didn't want to take away from the experience of reading this book, because it's definitely something that I want everyone to experience firsthand.
It's alright, I'll nick after you.
So what I don't want to do is talk about his responses, because that's his experience, and the context of the book deserves to be treated that way, of reading it all and looking over it in your own time, in your own way. But what I did want to do was pull out some of the questions and for us to think about those questions, what we think. So the first question I've chosen from the book is, why don't you make eye contact?
See, eye contact's really weird because I'll only do it, I'll force myself to, it's just not a natural response. I just don't.
No.
But I'll do it with people that I know and I like. It's sort of like, this is the thing, like with you. I mean, I don't really, when I'm with other autistic people, I just sort of assume none of us really care. So I don't like make an effort, but I will, and it's comfortable. But if I don't know someone, I just find it, I read something, came across when I was younger, and it freaked me out so much that eyes were the window to the soul. And I always put it down to that, and it was like, I don't want someone staring into my soul. And I definitely just wouldn't look at people at all. It became a lot, but I never, like, of course, put it down to that. But I think for me, that's always in the back of my mind that people can read things in eyes that I can't. I just see eyes. I just see pretty colours.
Now you say that, I think I do struggle to verbalise why I don't like eye contact. And like you, I can if it's somebody I'm close to. But one thing I struggle with that you've mentioned is that thing of, is somebody second guessing me? Are they trying to figure out my intentions without asking me? I don't like that at all. I really don't like that.
I think as well, being a reader, it always comes back to reading, doesn't it? That you'll see so much. I don't think how much I struggle with like non-verbal communication especially, until I start reading books and I realise I don't pick up all these things in real life, and they'll say that like this flicker of, XYZ in the eye, and I'm like, I just see colours. I just see eyes move about. What does happiness flickering in an eye look like?
For me as well, I don't think it's necessary. Like, I will look at somebody's mouth. I find it easier to judge somebody's emotion from their mouth and the muscles in their jaw. I feel like there's a lot more emotion shown in a mouth than there is in the eyes.
See, I get nothing.
Changes.
See, I just get nothing. Like, I'll see, like, the face move, which doesn't mean anything to me. But like, I'll sort of learn, and when I'm comfortable with people, I think it's a very individual experience.
Yeah.
So, like, I can probably pick up things from, like, you or, like, my close family members and other close friends, but it's like a sign that I like you is I'll make eye contact.
See, one thing I don't do is try and judge somebody's emotion. If I saw somebody's mouth change, for example, I would never think, well, is this person happy or sad?
No.
What I would do is say, I've noticed a change, and now I'll ask if they're okay. Because I can never guess.
That's what I do. I'll see a change and be like, are you okay, is this? And I'll tend to, like, take in, like, the full situation and be like, has something happened? Have they just checked their phone? So maybe they've got a message they don't like, or they've seen the time and they're late. And I'll do it sort of like Sherlock Holmes style, like deduce everything that's going on and then be like, it might be this. But yeah, I don't trust myself because I only use reliable sources and I'm not one.
This is the thing though, I don't think anybody's reliable at judging emotion because people always get mine wrong. I'm like,
actually,
just ask me.
There's one emotion I can get right. My mum will wiggle her feet in different ways depending on when she's like happy or like thinking. And it occurred to me I spend too much time with my mother that I know this.
But this is the thing, everyone has their individual
Exactly.
differences. You can't apply a rule to everyone.
No. Some people don't move their feet when they're happy.
So the next question that I wanted to look over is, do you prefer to be alone?
See, it's changed since I found good people. And I think it's a day-to-day thing. I must admit, I do need my solitude.
Yeah.
I like to pursue my own interests and things. I like my own space. I'm quite happy on my own, but I also have been. So I think I'd say definitely 70% of the time, probably. But then I think it's like I'll enjoy other people's company. Now I've got people I want to spend time with, so it's kind of like, but it's if someone said you'll have to be alone for the rest of your life, it wouldn't bother me.
See, I'm just like you. I'm happy on my own. I can spend time alone, and it is necessary. I think that's
Definitely
something
necessary.
that comes up regularly with autistic people.
We need our own space.
Definitely. Like, just that time to process and engage in a special interest or anything that you want to do that socially might become a problem. Like, talking too much about something or thinking too much about something or just wanting just to process stuff.
I think as well it's that thing that there's like, when you're around other people, there's still, even people I'm super comfortable with, even if I'm like, you know, spending time with like my mum or someone, there's still input from that and it still does build up for that, especially sensory-wise, noise still builds up and it does need to like, you know, release that energy and alone time does that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's different from the misconception that we're not social, because yes, I like to be alone, but I also do like to socialise in my own way.
I can be quite social. I've realised this, like, the more, like, I'm sort of, like, not depressed and stuff, I'm actually more social than I thought I was.
You'd never get me in a big group going somewhere, because
No.
to me that takes too much effort, and I will do it if I have to.
I think it's... But then again, this is where I'm like, well, that's just, to me, more personality and, like, personal preference, because... I know loads of people who prefer, like, alone time and solitude. Like, my mum is definitely not autistic. Or as much as... But she definitely needs alone time. Because that's why I always thought, like, my preference being alone I just got from her. And she always, like, told us to, like, make sure we could entertain ourselves. Because that was just so she could have space. And also, it's a good skill to be able to spend time on your own.
I often wonder if non-autistic people simply don't spend alone time because they feel the pressure to not spend too much time alone.
See, I asked one of my friends about this because she seems to really never want to be alone, and I think it's just she doesn't enjoy her own company. See, I love my own company.
Me too.
I think it's that thing, but then I'm like, but does it come down to hobbies? Because it's like, I know people who don't have hobbies, and so they sort of seek out people, whereas I've got hobbies and a few special interests, so it's like, if you give me uninterrupted time, there is nothing, I will find something to do.
But I do like good company. I like spending time with people that make me happy. I think everybody does, regardless of whether they're autistic.
I think that's the thing. I think there's definitely, but I think for us, there's that essential side of alone time to recharge.
Yeah. I find as I'm getting older, the problem I'm having is actually that I don't make enough time to socialise. It's like, okay, I should probably stop spending alone time now and reach out to people.
I think about us, it's like, we should probably schedule like actual social things rather than just like working together. It's like there's things we could do, places we can go. Even when, like, the semester's on at uni, even, like, other friends, it's the library's, like, our social event. We'll, like, me and a friend cheaper pints on Friday in the student guild. We'd go take all our reading, sit and have a few pints and, like, read. And I'm like, is this social? It's like student life. We just added alcohol to study in. It's like, we are the stereotype.
I think it's part of being a student as well. There was just never time.
No. Oh my gosh, all this time. I always shout at my brother because he's like, just going about he's not got enough time. And I'm like, do not speak to me about not having enough time. Do not speak to me. And they say, but you sign up for extra things. And I'm like, but I enjoy it. Do not speak to me about not having enough time.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is, what's the best and worst thing about being autistic?
Best, hands down, is special interests. To have such passionate joy. And it's not even my own. I love listening to other people's. So it's like yours. Like, I have no interest in the music you listen to. I am country music all the way. And your music is just not my thing at all. But I still love the passion. Exactly. And I appreciate that. I love, like, I've listened to so many... I've spent so much time around other autistic people. And I just love it. So it's not just my own. That's definitely the best part.
I think I'd agree with you there. I think special interests, and also tying into that, the ability to hyper-focus.
Oh my gosh, that is a superpower. That is, like, I say to everyone, right, get a special interest, you can do a degree in if you want to go to uni, because, like, my ability to read textbooks for 8 hours has served me well. Yeah. Everyone's like, how can you do it? Autism.
I can't pick a worst thing about being autistic, because it's always... circumstantial. It's other people being stigmatic.
Just about to say that, like, stigma's really hard, but if we got rid of that, that wouldn't be an issue. I do think the sensory stuff's difficult. I'd say, like, even now this room's really bright.
And I'm noticing the smell of the room quite a lot as well.
Yeah, see, I'm not as smell sensitive as you, and I'm glad. For me, it's definitely noise. But again, I've sort of just learned to adapt to that. But it definitely, if someone said to me, can you get rid of, like, the sensory effect, I'd be like, yes, please. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, there's positive sensory experiences. So it's like, I wouldn't want to remove the sensory aspect.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure you'd be unhappy if I got rid of my sense to smell thunder before it came.
Yeah, right. No, I'm going to talk about this. Melissa has a superpower. So I am, like, terrified of thunder, like, cat freaking out hiding under the bed, like, terrified of thunder. It's never going to go away. That's why my, like, support needs change hourly, because if there's a thunderstorm, like, within 10 seconds, I am, like, gone. But this one, she can smell when it might like, it's pretty accurate.
I can also give you a percentage of likelihood as well.
Yeah, you can give me a percentage of likelihood. I feel like fate destined us to be friends on the fact that I am petrified of thunder and can't, like, even physically cope with the sensations the sound brings. But I have a friend who can give me a heads up, and I can prep.
I have never been bitten by a spider or any other superhero thing, although I have been exposed to radiation. I don't think that's the cause. It's just that being autistic, I've got hypersensitive smell, so I can smell things that other people will not notice.
There's definitely so many things you notice, but I think, because mine's hearing, it drives everyone mad.
But as well, one thing actually has made me feel a bit down sometimes is when you make a social mistake. When it's someone you care about and you think, oh no, I've really just offended them, or have I said something bad? But I don't feel like that's part of being autistic. I feel that's the double empathy problem, which we'll speak about throughout this podcast at some point.
It always comes up.
Exactly. People could communicate better with us too. If I was to say to somebody, I'm not communicating properly, I don't know how to word this, often that wouldn't be acceptable. And if I could just communicate literally, and then them say whatever they're thinking literally, I think that would be not a problem anymore.
See, that's why I'm so picky with who I spend time with and do cut people off, because everyone kind of knows. It's sort of a heads up from me. I will probably say something at some point you won't understand. It's why I tell people I'm autistic, and it's just kind of like, just ask me, or just say that came across differently. Like, I know, especially when I'm stressed, my voice can get, like, really snappy or a bit too loud, a bit angry, and my mum just tells me, and then I just kind of adjust or, like, be a bit more conscious about it. So I think for me, it is really difficult. I mean, I sort of put that down to anxiety as well, but I think I've learned that people don't replay things the same way as me.
I have the same issue as you, where I can lose control of my tone, and I think it's because naturally my tone's something that I can't control, and I have to spend a lot of conscious effort on that. I'm normally quite monotone if I wasn't putting the effort in. And the problem with being monotone, although it might be more comfortable for me, is that you constantly get, are you being funny with me? Are you being this way or that way? And the problem is that people sometimes don't even ask, and they've reacted to you.
Yeah, I hate that.
No.
I have to double check things now, because especially sarcasm, certain people's sarcasm I'll just never sort of pick up. But then there's been times like when maybe like my grandma said something. I remember there was this one, I can't remember what she said, but I got really upset because I took it literally, and then she got upset that I got upset, and it's like this little cycle of we all just got upset because like I picked something up wrong. So now it's kind of like being sarcastic, and it probably annoys people, but I think it's become safer than the alternative because I got really upset.
This is the thing, I can't imagine having a conversation and noticing somebody do something and thinking, are you maybe being off with me? And just not asking. Yeah. And saying, are you okay? You know,
so I just come out with it. There's no filter or like subtlety with me.
But that's how it works, you know. It's better that way.
I think it is better.
Last question. Would you like to be ordinary?
No.
I was about to say hell no.
No.
I love being different. I love having skill sets. The way my brain works, I enjoy it. And it's not to say that I think there's anything bad about being neurotypical. It's just there's also nothing bad about being autistic, and I do really like it.
I think that's definitely something that I had to come to a conclusion of, and I think, but it's now, I mean, it might be a bit arrogant, but egotistical, but I quite like me.
That's a good thing, though.
It really is. Like, I know some people with self-esteem or like self-confidence issues, and I'm like, it's really good being me. So, one of the things that I definitely think is a huge part of being autistic, I think especially more so in women who are autistic, is a huge thing. It's masking, also sort of known as camouflaging. And I did a bit of research. Thank you, Google Scholar. So I found a paper which was called Friendship, Motivations, Challenges and the Role of Masking for Girls with Autism in Contrasting School Settings by Cook, Ogden and Winstone. And basically what I sort of thought, I'll get like a definition from it. And they put masking as being hiding autistic traits, often through modelling gender-appropriate behaviour in order to conceal deficits and conform to social group norms.
I think that's a fantastic definition, straight up.
Just, like, definitely.
That's everything.
That's sort of like, from a little paragraph, I'm like, that is it. That is what it is. And it's something that I didn't realise I did as much as I'd done it throughout my life. And I think definitely being autistic and not knowing for a very long time, like I think if I'd obviously known I was autistic when I was younger rather than 15, there's like so many years I wouldn't have masked.
Yes.
And definitely. I think obviously you've masked. I think it's something we do, and like, I still do it now.
I still mask too, and I wish I didn't. I hate it.
Yeah, I definitely. It's one of these guys is like, do you? I think as well, it's really happened automatically sometimes with me. Mm-hmm. And I think it's being aware of it. So are you aware when you're masking, or is it like a reflective process back?
I am aware. It depends. If it's my normal, everyday masking, sometimes not. Yeah. If all of a sudden I'm in a stressful situation and I'm having to up the amount of masking, I'm very aware and I'm thinking, oh no, I hate this, I need to get out of this situation. The problem is that whenever I mask, whether it's ordinary masking that I do every day or not, I go home exhausted, and then I've got no mental space for anything else.
And that's because I have the same. I think this is definitely sort of masking does that, and I think it is that everyday masking. But I feel like it's so ingrained at this point. I don't think I'll ever lose that, and that feels really sad to have to like disguise who you are. Mm-hmm.
That's the worst thing of it, because for me, it got a little bit better after diagnosis. But when you're already having a self-identity crisis of who am I, why am I different, why am I now diagnosed with something I didn't know about? Yeah. It's then, do I even know who I am? Because every day I go out the door, I'm having to hide these things in case somebody else doesn't like it or I get taken the wrong way. And again, it keeps coming back to the double empathy problem, which if you're interested in as a listener, please, please, please look up Damien Milton's work. He's fantastic. His work's fantastic. It's all about the double empathy issue. That I do find if a neurotypical person is more sensitive to me and how I communicate, I don't have to mask. Yeah. And that's the best outcome.
I think that's where, like, good friends definitely factor in, because it's that sort of, you drop it and it's that feeling comfortable around people, and that's a really nice feeling. But I think for me with masking, it's not just I'm hiding stuff, it's that actively doing things as well.
Yeah.
So like there'll be like, especially like one times I definitely mask is especially being at uni, if I go into a meeting with like a lecturer or something and I'm trying to, that first impressions thing that everyone shoves down your throat, and I'll be like, I don't want to come across like they'll think I'm rude maybe. And so I'll be there like eye contact. And then I'll miss things that have been said in a conversation. And then it's this kind of awkwardness having to be like, can you repeat that? And I'll sort of like pretend to look at notebooks really great in meetings because I'll like look down at the book, can you repeat that? So I can just note it down. And it's like foolproof. But, yeah.
I feel like as well sometimes it's safer, like a safety issue to mask.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm in a situation where somebody might target me for being vulnerable, which, matter of fact, does happen to people, then I'm going to mask because it's protecting me, it's protecting my safety.
I think as well, like, definitely wrote this down, that it's just easier sometimes than dealing with why you're not doing this or why you're doing that. And it's just sometimes easier to just not have to encounter that explaining. And it's difficult because it does, I mean, going back to that's really rough knowing you're hiding part of yourself, and it sort of chips away at you a little bit, I think. It definitely chips away. Like sometimes just be like, why am I having to pretend to make everyone else's life easier? Why can't we just accept you can have a conversation without me staring at your eyeballs?
I feel like since I found out about masking, I'm better at not masking. I won't make eye contact. I won't make allowances for the people if they're not making them for me, and you know, I will use things to help, like fidget toy or headphones if I feel that's safe. Again, it comes back to the safety issue. I wouldn't walk around in headphones if I felt I wasn't going to be safe doing that.
Yeah, so I've got good enough hearing that it's like low headphones, I'm still fine. I'll hear anything. So it's, that's probably a perk of it actually. I can still have music and be aware of my surroundings.
Yeah.
But I think I must admit I didn't come across masking as a term until a few years after my dad. It wasn't something
it took me a while too.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like, because I'd spent so much time trying to fit in my sort of preteen years, and I realised I was literally stopping like pretty much most of who I was just to attempt to fit in. So I think that's been, awareness of masking is a huge thing.
My mum introduced me to it actually while I was going through a diagnosis process. She'd met other autistic people. And she said to me, autistic women often describe that they go out and act every day, so that's how I knew it. I didn't find out about masking and the intricacies of masking until a bit later on. I feel that was a bit better to help me understand what's happening.
I think for me it definitely sort of, I attributed it to, I think this is the thing about having mental health before finding out you're autistic. I attributed so much to being depressed, and like I used to just hide and stuff, I think. But then I'm like, no, that's more being autistic and realising that other people wouldn't accept this, and this. And especially with, you'll see things about eye contact being rude and things like that. And so it's forcing that. And it's that thing of, I don't see a need for it. I think eye contact is such a big thing in the autism circles for just everyone. Because everyone's like, they don't make eye contact. Some people do. I've met autistic people who don't mind making eye contact. And then it's like, but I've spent enough time around people who don't want to make it that it doesn't matter. I also spend a lot of time talking to people without seeing their face. You can have a conversation without making eye contact.
Exactly.
I think masking, it is very damaging.
Very, I agree.
I mean, you've touched on the exhaustion. I think if it's been a really stressful day and there's been people and it's masking and it's kind of like, shut down for a few hours.
It's hard because I feel like people that don't get it see it as your good days when you're masking the most.
Yeah.
But they're my worst days. They're the days I go home and I'm like, no, I can't
it's
go
that,
anymore.
It's that thing, it's like, oh yeah, you're doing it. It's then when you drop the mask, this is my favourite one, it's like, but you're more autistic. And it's like,
oh no.
Yeah, I know. Everyone, like, it's the worst. You're more autistic today. And it's like, yes,
I took my autism pills yesterday.
Yes, my autism rate is 100% today. Joke. It's always 100%. It's always ready to go.
I like how even now we feel like we have to say joke.
Yeah, it's like, no. But I think this is the thing. It's like, you're so scared of this misconceptions because we've had to shut so many down.
Yeah.
That's what it's also like being autistic, having to educate people. But I think, and it's that one, because I've had that comment a couple of times now, and it's just kind of like, no, it means I'm comfortable enough around you to not have to hide who I am. Congratulations, you're special to me.
Exactly.
Please take it as the utmost honour, which it is.
And this is another thing, it ties in a bit, but quite loosely, it comes back, though, to the point of what it's like to be autistic.
Yeah.
I think we should probably do something on disclosure at one point, but
yeah,
there's often a negative reaction around masking, you know, oh, you don't seem very autistic, or I've got an autistic child who's not like you, and it's like, yes, because they're a child.
Yes, if you've met me when I was 8, I'd be a lot like your child. You are meeting me when I am 21. I am no longer like your child, because I am not a child.
My favourite thing was, because I don't tend to disclose anymore, everyone just knows I don't care, but there was one friend that somehow I didn't realise she didn't know. I was just so used to everyone knowing. And she asked me, and I said, yeah, I'm autistic, and I sort of tensed up waiting for the comment, and she just went, wow, that must be so hard every day, having to put that aside for other people's sake. And I was like, thank you. Thank you for getting this so well.
I did it because it's sort of, at uni, got a tutor group. I didn't see them in third year. I think maybe I don't know anyway. And someone mentioned that, like, one of the projects someone was doing, like, their friend, it was something to do with autism. And I was like, oh, let her know if she needs an autistic person, I'll do it. And I'd never mentioned it. I thought I had, because I often just, like, something will come up and I'll, like, say something, like, just drop it in really casually. I don't make a big thing about it. But I do disclose unless it needs to be. And, like, I got that. It wasn't negative reactions, it was just the confusion. And I love that. I love when people are really confused that you don't match what little they possibly know.
Yeah.
Because you also don't know how much people know about autism, and it might be, like, the really stereotype. And I love that confusion of people as it adjusts. The silence of people click that I am. There was one time we were doing an event at wane, and I was making an announcement for stuff, and I made a joke. And there seems, I've not really heard it as much, but I've heard it said that, like, autistic people don't have a sense of humour. Mine's a really dark, twisted sense of humour, but I've got one. And, like, so I made this joke, and then my friend, my really, really close friend, she laughed, and she sort of leant into the mic and went, oh, you wouldn't think she was autistic with a sense of humour like that, because she knows I'm, like, quite jokey about things. The room went dead. It was so fun. But I was cracking up, so I'm trying to, like, compose myself to say this. Like, luckily it moved on then. The one much was like, I didn't know you were. And I'm like, because I blend in. I'm in plain sight. It was so
it's like
funny.
being a comedian. I know I keep making all these animal comparisons.
Yeah. But it's just the way the room went dead. And then my friend felt really guilty. She was like,
I feel a need to say at this point, I don't see autistic people as animals.
No.
It's just how my brain works. I understand things this way.
Neither do I. It's just I'm going to, like, reference this for the next rest of our friendship. This is why you shouldn't use metaphors with me. It's not that I don't always get them. It's just I'll, like,
hold on to them.
I'll cling. I've got a good memory. This ain't going away.
So, to finish off on a final point, maybe we should cover the fundamental differences, what we think it's like to be autistic compared to being neurotypical.
I must admit, I definitely do think it's a very different on socialization. I do think that's a huge thing. I've noticed that, like, my focus on... See, this is why I sometimes think upbringing comes into certain things, and it's really hard to, like, divide it. Because just not caring what other people think. I mean, I do to the extent of when it has a negative impact. So, like, obviously I care when there's stigma involved, but generally I'm just not that bothered. I'm not that fixated on other people that I don't know.
Yeah, I'm proud to be autistic. It's important to me, but the problem that I find is I can see the differences. I can see the differences between me and any neurotypical person I meet, whether they're more like me or less like me. The problem is that I can't sit here and say these 5 points make us different, because our personalities can overlap.
Yeah.
And our experiences can overlap. So somebody who's neurotypical has a very similar personality to me and similar life experiences. It's probably going to be hard to say specifically these categories are the difference, because they might be more like me than other neurotypicals, and probably is still differences there. Of course there would be, but it's going to be harder to define.
Yeah, I think there's not, as you say, there's not like a list you can make. I think for me it's definitely the more little things, like realising that other people, they'll like pick up things from eyes, from faces moving. I call it social voodoo. And like, because I mean, I've had it before where things have been pointed out to me and it's just I'd never have picked that up.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, if everyone else didn't have to worry about this stuff, it'd be a lot easier. But then you sort of second guess and self-doubt, well, that I'm not. So I definitely think there's, for me, socials are big. Special interests, we have them.
That's
they don't.
The biggest difference that
Like,
you can't deny, I think.
Yeah. And obviously, because that's next topic.
But then again, if we think about a fandom, is that any different from a special interest if you're that invested in something?
See, I still feel like it is. I still feel like, as someone who's say they're part of fandoms but isn't.
I've not met enough people part of a fandom to know, that's why I'm asking you.
Like, too much time on the internet. I know people that are like really intense fans of stuff, it just doesn't, it still feels different. Like when I speak to them, it's that really intense happiness and like joy and positivity, but it's, for me, it's kind of like, I'll say we're talking about this more, but I do feel there's still a difference.
Mm-hmm. This is the hard part, though, isn't it? You can tell the difference, you just can't explain it to other people without them saying, well, what if this person's like...
You always get that, but like,
this?
but other people are really invested in stuff, and it's like, look.
Like, we could sit here now and say, the difference is that neurotypical people are very aware of social rules and we're not, but there might be some neurotypical people that struggle more with social rules, but they're still different from us because they've probably got a different difficulty with understanding social rules than what we've got.
See, there's like really things specific to me, like, I'll be very brutally honest with people, like, if I'm not someone who's, if I think someone's in the wrong, friendship doesn't matter to me, like, I will call a friend out.
Definitely.
And see, I expect the same. It's that thing, like, if someone does something, like, I've had it before, there's been arguments and it's all kicked off, and it's been, you can see the expectation to, like, take sides. I'm, like, the only autistic in the group chat, and it's kind of like, no, I think I sort of caught that, like, some of the people I was really close to, some people I wasn't as close to, and I just kind of said, well, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. None of you should have handled it this way. That's my piece. Because they were trying to get me involved, and I don't want to get involved, and then it was like, fine, sod it.
And I think, as well, the reason that can sometimes be a problem is that...
People don't like to be told they're in the wrong.
We're very abrupt. That's often part of being autistic, but it's not just that, it's the fact that we're constantly told to do things a certain way, or fit in this way, or do it that way, that we become so self-aware.
I've noticed that, like, I think it's made me better at, like, socialising and stuff.
Yeah.
In certain ways, because I've had to become so aware of all these, like, flaws, like, society's told me that I've got, and I realised that actually, how come I'm the one with the problem? I think that's another part of being autistic, is that sort of having to realise that, you know, not everything that you do is pathologically wrong.
Exactly.
Should we get topical? You can line up your toys, people.
Oh no, lining up your toys is fun. Please don't stop people from lining up their toys.
I mean, I laughed. I said this to my mum because I was telling her there's a controversy on Twitter, and all the autistic community, we've jumped out and said, just let people play with their toys. Like, what is the problem?
I don't think I'm aware of this controversy. I've had to limit my Twitter time for the PhD, so I'm not keeping up as much. I
will update you. It is. There's been comments made. Someone saying you should change it. Like, I said this to my mum, and then, I mean, I do it with Smarties. I sort my Smarties out into colours, and I line them all up, and I eat them from, like, the smallest number in a certain colour to the colour that is the biggest number. Did it with my toys. I like things in neat lines. It just looks nice.
I had Barbies, which was stereotypical for the time, but I didn't play with them. I didn't have little conversations with them and do unique scenarios. Sometimes I would replicate what I'd seen in a film, because it's like, oh, I really want to play that scene out, but most of the time they got lined up. I would organise their clothes, and that organisation was so comforting, so happy.
See, like, I had this is the thing, because, like, they do ask you about, like, playstyle and stuff, like, more my mum, through my diagnostic stuff. And it's like, I'd have, like, soap opera level, like, drama going on with my Polly Pockets. They'd be on, like, grand adventures. like, you know, take him in the bath, like climb the stairs, like had lots of Lego in the house, like, you know, build things like towers and stuff. And then I'd also do the organise everything, line everything up. Like, I used to pair all like the shoes up and like line them up neatly because it just looked nice. I just didn't, you know, it's that thing like, why is how you play wrong? And I feel like it does come down to that it's because you're autistic.
I could be wrong, obviously. I've not got on neurotypical here with that difficulty of not wanting the kid to line something up to ask.
No.
But as you wonder, is it because they want their child to be imaginative? In which case I would say, let your kid play with those toys the way they want to play them, and then if you want them to be imaginative, find another task, a task that is imaginative in their way.
Oh, it doesn't, if someone's happy, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Because I asked my mum about this. I was like, I'll get a parent's perspective on this as it all kicked off. And I was like, and she was like, well, you were happy. I wasn't going to fuss
you. See, I did personally want to develop my imagination when I got older. Nobody stopped me and said, don't do that with your toys. We want you to be imaginative. It's just, I liked doing art and things like that. And people sat me down and said, right, if you're struggling with imagination, let's do this a different way. They knew that I like to take pictures. So they'd say, take a picture of something that you would like to draw. And I'd be like, well, maybe I don't want to take a picture of a tree and then draw a tree. Maybe I want to draw something imaginative. So what they taught me to do, different people in my life, was to compose a picture. So maybe it'd have like an Alice in Wonderland figure and something else pretty cool I wanted to draw, and take a picture of that, or Photoshop it and draw from that, because I needed something concrete, and that doesn't make me less imaginative.
No.
It's just a different type of imagination.
See, that's to be honest, that was one of the big doubts I had, because I saw so much like the sense of humour thing, and it was like, you don't have imagination. I'm a very imaginative person.
Yeah, you are.
I am
agree
like
with that.
crazy imaginative. I was as a kid, did loads of pretend games and things like that. And just, like, even writing stories. That was like the only bit of English I was ever good at in school, was writing stories and spelling. Because I just had like so many ideas, and I still do now, and it sort of translates into a lot of things. But like, again, I don't think you need to have imaginative. If that's not what interests you, playing is supposed to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's like being autistic is doing things how you want to do them.
Exactly.
Because you.
So, next week, we're going to talk about special interests.
Which may go wrong.
We do want to talk about why special interests are a good thing in general, and why we should help foster them. Is that the right word?
Yeah, we should. You should nurture and grow.
But we cannot promise that we won't go off on tangents about our own special interests. That might be helpful.
But like, you'll get to hear like the passion about Highland cows. This is, I've been prepared for specifically like obscure special interests from me.
Yeah. I feel like mine aren't as obscure, but very intense.
Yours are intense, and then there's like me. So yeah, that's next week.
So thank you for listening, if you are listening. I don't know why I would say it otherwise. Let's start again with that.
If a tree falls down in the forest, does it make a noise? You know, people are listening.
Actually, sorry, random information dump. But I read a book recently that said technically if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears, then no, it didn't make a sound. Because sound only exists in the brain in the same way that colour exists in the brain. So if nobody's around to hear it, then there was no sound. It still felt, but there's no sound.
The vibration.
Yeah, you're completely right, that's it. It still lets off the chain of vibration, and there's still a string that could turn into sound, but because no one's there, there's no sound.
There's no perception of it.
Exactly.
Right. Oh my god, we're going to end everything with like philosophy now. This week.